Yeah. And of course, Arch feels bad, but he fractured his back in June, and he fell again the other day going out and get the paper. I couldn't persuade him not to, so he just hurt so bad he couldn't be down here to talk to the people, but some of them went to visit him. So he's kind of unhappy sitting down there by himself, because he's always been the star of the show, you know.
I tell everybody I've got the meanest woman you ever seen, you know, all that. I said, I've eaten her cooking for 65 years. I said, hell, you ought to see my teeth.
Archie Foxworthy is 92 years old. He's lost a lot of his sight and hearing, but still has an unconquerable zest for life.
And the guys that drive the bus know I say poems, you know. And I always have to say a poem or two for a busload of people. And I was telling tales on Mom, you know, like that, and, you know, and that. There's one woman, I know she had to be an old maid, because she's flat-chested, you know, eagle-eyed, hair braided, done curled up, and great big celluloid pins in it, you know, and stuff. Pretty soon she says, Mister, if you were my husband, I'd poison you. I said, my God, if you and my wife, I'd take it. One night I dreamed that death caught up with me, and heaven's gate swung wide. An angel with heavenly grace ushered me inside. To my surprise, there was people there that I had known on earth, and I had judged and labeled them unfit and very little worth. Indignant words rose to my lips. They never were set free, because on every face there was vast astonishment. Not a one of them there was expecting me. I have a lot of fun for an old feller, talking, telling tales, you know.
Oh, I've had a lot of fun playing an old banjo. Put groceries on the table for 2 years, this banjo. When I was working at the coal mine, made $10 a night. When I got married, I quit playing. Didn't play any for 11 years. Didn't hit a note.
He's entertained a lot. Of course, he's played banjo since he's been 15 years old, but he can't hear enough to tune it now. And so that's how I met him, playing for a dance. Because I was a jitterbug.
A bunch come wanted me to play. Nope, I've quit. So my wife sided in with him. Well, she said, the kid's big enough to go now, son.
Yeah, he got a job playing, and I was thankful to God, because he was keeping me at home with 3 little kids, and you're going to stay here. And he had 15 years of fun, and I got married when I was 16, so, you know, I felt kind of gypped when he said, I'm not playing no more. Then they persuaded him to play in the band 2 nights a week called the Demons of Rhythm, and it was a fantastic band.
Well, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll play till you get somebody to take my place. And when you do, just tell me and I'll just bow out. No harm done. I never did look for anybody. I played for 2 years. Every Friday night and every Saturday night. Then through the week for a alumni dance or something, you know. Make $20, $30 a week. I'd give Mom my money for groceries. I ain't got it. We got to buy this fine.
I was skinned all over from the rocks in the and was butchered to death by the stone.
I'm getting too old, you know. I fumble around too much.
Ask him about his pick.
I see you don't have a pick there.
Yeah, I got a hickory nut for a pick. That's all I ever did use, even when I was a young feller. That's about all I could afford, you know. Yeah.
I call this poem The Reason. My grandfather told me one time, he said, boy, I'm going to tell you something, hear me? Yes, sir. You had to say yes, sir. You got a thumb side the head. If kids raised like that today, this world would be better shape, you know. He said, I'm going to tell you something. I want you to remember this. He said, in this world, there's a reason for all things. Big, little, large, or small. He said, there's a reason for them. And he said, I don't know all the reason, but there's a reason for them. And I was sitting under this big sugar tree out here where I made a poem thinking about that. I said, I wonder what's the reason that I go to church once in a while. There has to be a reason. There's no law says I have to go. There's no law says I can't go. There has to be a reason. I said, Arch, what is it? I said, never mind, son. This is what come to me. The reason that I go to church once in a while is to hear the parson preach and pray, to hear him read from the Bible, and to talk about that judgment day. He will tell why Jonah was swallowed by a whale. He will tell about Daniel, who was thrown into a lion den, and there stood Daniel with his hand on the lion's back, way back by his tail. He will tell about the 3 Hebrew children that were thrown into a fiery furnace and they never burnt. The 3 Hebrew children, they weren't even hurt. He will tell about Samson, whose strength was in his hair. Delilah cut it, and then they blinded him. And between 2 pillars of the temple, they chained him there. One day he raised his face to the heavens and he said a prayer. Then he pushed on the pillars with all of his might. Down come the temple, killed everyone that was inside. Then he will tell of a time when Gabriel will stand with 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the land, and he'll blow a great blast on a trumpet that'll be heard clear around the world throughout all the land. And the dead shall all rise up and be reborn when they hear the blast from Gabriel's horn. Then he will tell of a time when we all, one by one, shall stand naked and alone before a great white throne, and we will be judged for the good and the bad of this life in this world that we have had. The reason that I go to church is to hear the parson preach and pray, to hear him read from the Bible, and to talk about that judgment day. That's my reason.